All right, then. So, welcome, guys. Thank you so much for joining me today. Today, we're going to be going over attendance, not only in creating those events that you want to take attendance for, but also creating those attendance batches, kind of editing those records as needed, and then also kind of going over, how you can report on those records as well so that you can have those attendance numbers whenever your office needs that. So just for a few introductions and just a few housekeeping things, I do want to let you know that these webinars are recorded, and anybody who has registered for these webinars, they will be emailed those recordings once we're finished. And not only are they going to be posted to our help center, but when you're looking at in your own Shepherd Staff software, if you are supported, you can go underneath the training area or under help, under training, and you can look at those videos there once we upload them, from the cloud. So those are definitely going to be available to you whenever it is that you need, and hopefully it'll help other people in the future as well. So, okay. So, just as a brief introduction, my name is Taylor Brown. I have been here for about 5 years. I'm very pleased with getting to work with churches. I worked in just a small little mom and pop shop and had to work on Sundays. And I really wanted to get more involved in my church. And this job came up, and now I get to work with a whole bunch of churches. So, I'm very excited. All right, then. So, just to make sure that everybody can hear me, all phones and microphones have been muted. However, if you have any sort of questions during the webinar, please feel free to go into our little question answer session box in GoToWebinar, and feel free to just type in any sort of question that might come to mind. And my manager, Rod Kiles, will be kind of monitoring that area and answering them as he can. And, if there are any questions that he doesn't get to, then we'll definitely take time after the webinar to definitely make sure all of those are addressed and if we need to follow up on anything. So I do hope everybody's having a good day. So we'll just go ahead and get started with just kind of showing an overview on what we're going to be going over here. So Shepherd Staff has individual modules, and there is one module dedicated specifically to attendance, and that's just kind of what we're going to be reviewing today. So as just a bit of a class agenda today, we're going to be going over kind of how, the navigation and conventions, giving just a small little tour of everything, and then also kind of going over how to create events that you want to take attendance for, and then also entering in those attendance batches. And there is also, for supported customers, an extra little way that you can add in batches called web tools that we'll also be going over today. So many different ways of data entry for your attendance batches and numbers and head counts. We'll definitely be going over a little bit of everything for there. Then we'll go over a few reports for either some counts or some event summaries, also including things like attendance behavior, like if we're looking for like inactivity or anything else related strictly to just attendance. Then we can also create a attendance roster based on a group, either a subgroup, a list, or if just it's anybody in Sunday school. Excuse me. Then we also have an event summary that can kind of show you just those bottom line sort of counts for each individual event and all their occurrences. And then we're going to lightly go over the attendance utilities, which mostly boils down to a utility called fixing attendance posting mistakes. Is that can allow you to kind of tweak posted batch dates so that they are on the right date and to the right event to make sure that you don't have to really do that work all over again. Then we'll just kind of end it with just a little true and false quiz just to make sure everything is hitting home. And then we'll have that question answer session for anybody who has any extra questions afterwards. So let's just go ahead and just get started. So here we have Shepherd Staff 9 right here. I am using the most updated version of Shepherd Staff. And let me drag it over here. And you can definitely always check for updates whenever whenever you need to. And for anybody who has a registered database and an active support contract, you'll always get those new updates as needed. I'll go ahead and log in as sysadministrator, which has access to everything, which depending on your permissions, you might not see everything that we're going to go over today, but that might be just based on the permissions that you have and the tasks that you're expected to fulfill. So opening up Shepherd Staff, moving that back over here. So we have these many different modules just based on different areas of the software. And today we're going to be going over this yellow one that we have for attendance. So here in the attendance module, each of our modules are kind of self-contained in their own little windows. It does allow you to kind of open the windows and operate in different modules at the same time. But as a, point of consistency, a lot of them have many of the same traits, so to speak. We do normally have tabs up here and then sections, and then also kind of a grid-like area for extra information here. And for the attendance area here, we do have just the basic attendance records for the first tab here. First, then we have batches, which is where you're probably going to be starting usually, every single week when adding in new attendance batches. And if you do have extra information, then you can also kind of look at that information by going into like the detailed view here and just kind of seeing exactly what is available. And so if you're looking for specific records for one person, for one event, for one occurrence, then you have all of that detailed view available here. And then we have just additional sort of summary-like events by person and then by different concepts, whether it's by just the event, the type, the week, the year, or even if you're just looking for counts for every year. So these are all views that are kind of like mini reports within themselves. You can see that you are able to export and print from most of these views. So they're all kind of their own little report. So if you find something that does get you the information that you need, then you certainly can take that and then have that just for your reference. Speaking of reference, there is also a dashboard option up here where there's this R icon with like papers behind it. And in that dashboard, depending on your permissions, you would be able to also see either membership or contribution information possibly, but there is also some reference data for attendance as well, where you can see a bar graph if you need to. You can change the amount of weeks that are shown here. You can see the many different event types if you need to, as well as kind of dividing exactly who it is that you're looking for. So many of these views are available and can offer quite a bit of insight depending on what numbers and what calculations it is that you're looking for. In addition to attendance, we also have an area for events. And so these are the actual events themselves that usually reoccur that you can create yourself and then just kind of add here and just kind of manage them from this area. And in addition to events, then you can also see information based on those events, and we'll get into that in just a few minutes. Then we also have the Other Reports tab, and then also Tools and Settings. And each of these tabs we're going to be going over in a little more detail today. So first, we want to kind of go over the concept of what an event is. And this could be just a common worship occurrence that happens every single Sunday. It could be a group of events like VBS. It's just whatever specific event, without a better word for it, but just an instance that you want to specify for your attendance. So here we can see that we have contemporary worship and Sunday school and traditional worship. If you wanted to separate those between contemporary and traditional, you can do that. If you wanted one big worship event and you just needed those numbers, then you could combine them. It's just however it is that your office wants to kind of differentiate between different events that you take attendance for, then you certainly can create those events specifically just based on whatever it is that you need. And with this example, when we go ahead and add in a new event, clicking on the add button on the bottom here, first, we'll put in the event name. So this isn't specified to a particular date. This is just the type of event itself, or the event. So in this instance, I'll go ahead and put like VBS, Vacation Bible School. That's something that's probably going to happen every single year. And so I want to know what those numbers are. I can add in an extra description if I wanted to make sure that everybody knew what this event entailed. And then I get to choose different event types. So event types are just kind of groupings of similar events, like grouping up the traditional and contemporary worship. They would both be worship and at sometimes possibly communion. So these are just kind of the types that you want to kind of look for things like inactivity reports. When you're trying to see if like maybe you're looking for all worship events or all communion-like events, or if you have multiple Sunday school options, maybe for Vacation Bible School, you want to mark it as a Sunday school option. You can definitely do that. It's just however you want to group specific events together to kind of see how you want to group inactivity or what you want to define inactivity for these events, whether it's for VBS itself or if you want VBS and all other like events for any of your reporting. And this can also be updated in the future as well, so you don't have to make that choice right now. So if I wanted to, I could mark VBS as a Sunday school event, or if I wanted, Sunday school to be only for a Sunday event, maybe I could use either the other one or two option, which are just two other customizable types that are in addition to the three main types of events that a church would have. So if you wanted to, you could choose other one to be for VBS events, and then maybe for other two, maybe that would be for other fellowship events, or if maybe you wanted to take attendance for meetings or voting committees, any sort of option is available for those types. So for right now, I'm going to mark it as other one for that brand new type here. I do want to mark it as being active. And then maybe I want to have kind of a list of people I kind of semi-expect to be attending fairly regularly, and that's what we call enrollees. They're not the absolute attendees, but they are the frequent attenders. So that when you're going through and you're adding in a batch, you don't have to go through all 500 of your members if you have that many. You can just kind of choose the people who have, recently attended, so they're more likely to attend this event. And the way that you can add these enrollees, which is just an extra group that you can add and choose for adding in those attendance batches, you would click on this add button while adding or editing your event. And here you can just kind of choose basically who it is that you want. You can pick and choose 1 and 2 and just add them individually, or you can filter, based on a particular group or subgroup. For VBS, it makes sense that a lot of the kids that are going to be in my Sunday school, that they're going to be part of Vacation Bible School as well. So I could choose to filter to show everybody in Sunday school, and then choose to show choose to add all 68 people over from this filtered view. And so that is what I'm going to choose for my enrollees. It's not the end all be all, but it will make it easier for you to just kind of filter and be able to kind of choose from this group as opposed to everybody. And then, you know, if somebody does appear or is a visitor, then we can add them later as well. So continuing on here, then I do have those enrollees available. And so then I'll go ahead and save. And so now I have that brand new event. In addition to adding in enrollees when you're adding in that particular event, I can also kind of update those enrollees. So, you know, the frequent attenders for last year, they, you know, they come and go, and they might be need updating, you know, sometime this year. So you can also go into these events like contemporary worship. If I went ahead and clicked on it to edit it, I can see all of these current enrollees that I have. And then after so many times of adding in attendance, I'm going to have these two buttons appear as well. And this is both an update, which essentially will add in all the enrollee, will add to the enrollee list, basically any person record that's attended this specific event more than twice in the last 30 days. So if they've attended more than twice in the last month, it makes sense that they're most likely going to appear or attend soon. So I can click on update and click yes. And so that added those 16 enrollees. So now I have an extra 16 on that list that now I can choose and don't have to hunt down. On the other hand, I can also purge from the enrollees, and it can remove any sort of enrollees that haven't attended in the last 120 days. Had to double check, but after the last 120 days, it will remove them as well. So it's just an extra way that you can update your list of enrollees or frequent attenders so that you just have that list of people that, you know, have been coming fairly regularly. And so then you don't have to hunt them down on a big old list. But like everything else, you know, it's just completely optional on whether or not you wanted to take advantage of the enrollee list. It's completely up to you. So with that kind of in mind, with kind of creating the events and then also kind of creating their frequent flyers, so to speak, you can also copy or even delete an event if it doesn't have any attendance records attached to it. We don't want to lose any of that data. So there are definitely some edit and copying options here. I do think I do see a question asking if you could, you know, kind of take an existing event, modify it, and then save under a different name. You could. There are some things that you can always go in and kind of edit, whether it's their type or if it is their enrollees. But after a while, you can see here with contemporary worship, after so long of attributing those types to that event, it might be harder and harder for you to change the types of exactly what type of events it is that you want, because typically between worship and communion, it's not really going to change that often. So that is a good question, and that does kind of just attribute to the more records that you have pertaining to a specific event in one way, then it might also be worth possibly marking an event as inactive and maybe starting off with a new event. So now that we kind of have the idea for the events themselves, you just have to create them once and then they're going to be available to you unless they're marked inactive. Then you're kind of going to start adding in those attendance batches. And this is what you're going to be doing about every week, whenever you get your list of people who have attended and those that you need to put into the system. So every week, you're going to go in here, you're going to open up attendance. It's probably going to open up to the attendance tab with the batches section available here. Batches in the context of Shepherd staff here, it's kind of like a work in progress, sort of a purgatory for this data that you can just kind of work and save and come back to and export and import. And you can do all of these other different modifications as you need. But until you actually post it, then that data isn't going to be available in your reports. So you can create however many batches you need, you can modify them as you need, and it's just kind of a work in progress in here. So it's very typical that after, when you open it up, that this is going to be empty. You're not going to have that many incomplete batches, hopefully, just hanging around here. But this is basically where your starting point is going to be. So when you come in every single morning, say maybe on Monday after you have your Sunday list, you'll go in here and you'll click on this Add button. For just a typical manual entry, you'll click on the Add button here. And then you'll first choose the event from the list of events that you have. And for this instance, I'll go ahead and go with Contemporary Worship. And down here, it kind of gives you a little reminder on exactly when the last time it last occurred. So it will definitely tell you if you're up to date. And then it will offer you probably the date, the next Sunday that is after the last occurrence. It just kind of makes that assumption for you, but you can always click on this calendar and edit it as you need. And once you have that selected, then you get to choose what kind of entry method you need. So there are two manual basic entry methods that are available in this area, and that's called basic and advanced. So first, just starting with the basic, you can always change your mind afterwards, but going into the basic entry method and pressing continue, it will open it up with a list of all of the households and their name and their people names afterwards. And this can help with people who prefer to use maybe a keyboard instead of using their mouse. If you just click up here, you can use the tab key to move to and fro on the top area here. And then you can use, when you click on the first record here. So first we'll click on Worship for David Abbott right now. Then I can kind of navigate using my keyboard and mark someone as either having worshiped or worshiped and communed. And then I can just kind of keep going further and further down. If I wanted to mark an entire household as having attended, I can click on just the household name. So here I have press the space bar for Baxter, and so it's marked Sally, Jesse, and Allison as having attended. But if you needed to mark someone as having communed, then you would need to go over to that specific box. So this is just kind of a unique way that you can kind of just navigate just based on your mobility preferences and just how it is that you want for your data entry. And then, under here where it says households for everyone, instead of having to scroll all the way down through all of these households, you can bring up those enrollees and just have them available, so that then they're going to be just that much easier for you to find and actually mark them as having worshiped and communed. So it's just a way to make things just a little bit easier. You can filter up here either with the drop-down menu or with the search bar. If you wanted to just go back to everyone, you can just click on this button right here. If you wanted to kind of make the font size a little bit bigger, to make things easier to see, you do have that option, or you can keep clicking and it would go back to normal. And then once everything has been selected, either by the mouse or by the keyboard, you would click on the Save button, and that would save your batch. So it is kind of still in this purgatory status right now, so it's under the batches right now. And if I wanted to, if I just know just a little a few people right now, I can add them in and just save this and just wait for later. And then I have more information and I can reopen it, or I can go ahead and post it. It's just completely up to whatever your workflow is. But if you needed to ever go back in and kind of edit the current batch, you would select it from this area and click on the edit button. And here you'll have the ability to either choose a different entry method from your basic or advanced, whatever you had selected, or you can have it the same as last time. I'll go ahead and go into the advanced area, the advanced entry method for this edit right here, because it also offers a few other options as well. So looking at the advanced option here, you can see it's very different from the basic option. This is very much a moving from the left-hand side to the right-hand side sort of idea here, where you can, again, you can use the search bar here. You can filter based on enrollees if you wanted to. And then just kind of scroll down and just select whoever it is that has attended this event and just slowly move them over. If you wanted to move people over for having just worshiped, you can mark either worship or communion. So if these people that I have selected just had attended worship but did not commune, I could uncheck that box and then add those people over. And then for people who have communed, then I can mark them with both of those boxes and move them over as well. So then I just have that extra information here. And you can see that, you know, some are marked as having, all of them I have marked as having attended, but only some of them have actually communed, just so you can specify exactly what people have been doing. In addition to just kind of the back and forth option, you also have the ability in the advanced entry method to add a visitor. So if you wanted to add a visitor that you had more information on, you can actually create a person record directly from this batch entry area. So if I wanted to add John Smith, then I definitely could, and add in any sort of information that I have, his spouse, his children, any sort of contact information. I can create that, and so then I have that to follow up on if I needed to. So I have that as an option. Or if you wanted to just add just general visitor information, say maybe it was like an Easter or Christmas event that you don't really want to create person records for everybody that came, you can also click on the visitors area right here, and you can just add a head count here. So maybe if there were just 10 visitors for attendance and then maybe 4 of them communed, then you can have that just as an additional head count. And if you wanted to add any other visitor names just as a note, you could do that. But it wouldn't create an actual record for them. It would just be available in notes for this specific event summary. So there are just many different ways that you can approach basically the same situation, and it just depends on what it is that you prefer. And in addition to those visitor notes, you can also add a note to this event. Say something happened, or you know, something had to be canceled. You can always put that in as well. And then once you click on save, then that update will be available to you. There are also a few other ways that you can enter in this data, either from the church computer or away from that church computer. If you had Shepherd staff on a different computer and you wanted to kind of maneuver on that and then kind of export it and then kind of import just the attendance file, not an actual backup, but just the attendance file itself, whenever you create a batch, you do have an option under this file button that you can export it into a file. And if I click continue here, maybe under documents here, under attendance batch files. I'll click OK. It'll ask me if I want to open up that export location, and I'll go ahead and say yes. So then that is available as a very specific file. You won't be able to open it and edit it, but it will be there that you can, work on it either from home if you had the database, a copy of the database at home, and you just wanted to create an attendance batch. You could just maneuver this over, email it, or use a USB. And then when you're back into the church computer, you can go into that file and choose to import it, where then you'll choose from that documents folder that you can then import that attendance batch back in. So it's just an additional option for you, but it's just additional sort of approach here. And then speaking of adding in extra information, there is also, for supported customers, there is an extra entry option called Web Tools that you can do online. So in order to take advantage of Web Tools, you will have to have your database registered and you will have to have an active support contract. Then whenever you're ready to use those Web Tools, up here where it has this little cloud icon here, clicking on here, you'll see information with the Web Tools link here. And you can either copy it to your Windows clipboard and email it to yourself, or you can go here and maybe bookmark it and send the bookmark if you want to. But as long as this is accurate, you can go straight to this website here and log in with the same credentials that you would use for your Shepherd Staff database. And you can add in batches online. So this is, this is online based. So you could do this from home as long as you had this URL and you were able to log in. Same thing with offering batches as well. So if you just had that information, you could add in these attendance batches or offering batches. To add in that new batch, you would click on Add, and you would choose whatever day it is that you're adding this in for. So we'll go ahead and select the 10th. Then you'll select your event. We'll go ahead and go with contemporary worship. And then pressing continue, we do also have all of this information of the people that was synced with our database, including members, enrollees, non-members, and then you can also look at all of them as well. You can either type in a name and find them, or you can scroll down and find them using any of the numbers to try and find them where they are in the list. On the left-hand side, you can click on this button to enter in the entire household. So if I wanted to add David, Shirley, Jeffrey, and Natalie, I can click on this button and it adds them all from within the household. Or I can click on the right or the second column here and I can just add in specific people instead. And, your list to choose from is going to be over here. You can also go through the list as needed. And then you can also kind of review who it is that you have selected. If you find that you made a mistake, you can click on the minus icon and unselect them. But as long as you have that batch corrected, you can save it. And it will say that it's in process. So if you want to come back to it, if it's not finished, you can keep it in an in-processed format. But whenever you're ready for it to be downloaded to your church database, you would click on that status and mark it as ready, so that then whenever you go back into your church computer, a few days later, you would go back to this cloud icon and click on sync and make sure that everything is uploaded and accurate. So that then when you go into the attendance and you click on Web Tools, it will let you know that one is available. So then you can go ahead and import it from there as well, and it will let you know once it's finished importing for you. So we have our original batch, we have our duplicate batch that we exported and then imported. If we ever needed to delete a batch, we have a duplicate, or it's just one that we just never finished, or there's no attendees, I made a mistake, I made an extra one. You can always delete it. It's just purgatory, so it's just going to remove that batch. It's not removing any actual records. And whenever you are ready, whenever any of these batches are correct, you can go ahead and post them. So posting is what actually creates the attendance records on the reports and creates them in the detail option here. So if we ever posted a batch, and you ever wanted to just kind of see what that batch was, you can go to details and kind of see the specific dates as needed by clicking on the headers. Or you can also just use the different search filters just based on whatever it is that you need. But basically, once it's posted, it's kind of it's kind of completed, it's saved, and it is attributed to all of those reports. However, once you, even if you have posted that attendance batch, you can also find it under events, either by date or by year, and we can find that specific batch right here, where then we can edit it if we ever needed to. Maybe not the specific people selected, but we can add a head count if we found that maybe instead of 10 visitors, maybe 15 actually visited, and instead of 4 visitors communed, maybe 6 of them did. So it just lets you know exactly what the numbers are, and then you can update those numbers as needed. So head counts can be updated either during you adding in specific people with adding in visitors. They can be added after you post if you need to, or if you only had a head count for a specific event. Maybe it was like a festival or something where you just had, just people who would come in. Then you can also add in an event summary just by itself. You don't have to actually create an attendance batch and just select that specific event, whatever that date the event happened, and then you can just put in that head count just by itself. You can add in extra notes, but you just definitely have it just for those numbers. So that's just kind of the many different ways that you can create attendance batches. Either you're in front of the church computer and you're creating them just manually from here, or if it's from another computer, you can export those batches. Or if you're at another computer and maybe at home with an internet connection, you can also use web tools as well. But either way, it all brings it into this batch window that allows you to post it. And then once you post it, it is available either in details where you can update things if you need to. If you find that maybe Sally Baxter hadn't attended, you can just delete that particular record for just her, for just that event. Or you can edit the head counts from the events area. So many different situations, many different approaches, and we try to kind of make it so that just anybody can try and make their own workflows and whatever works best for them. Then we kind of have a few reports in addition to all of these different views. So we definitely went over the attendance views and the events views. Then we have under other reports here, first, we have the attendance behavior, and this is very similar to the inactivity report we have in membership, which includes both attendance and contribution activity. If you're looking for just attendance behavior, though, just have access to just attendance, you can choose exactly who it is that you want to look at. If you're looking for current members, who are basically just anybody who's not inactive, you can choose them and see whatever their behavior is. If maybe they didn't attend maybe a specific time period, or if they missed more than a few events, or attended at least a few events, had perfect attendance, or missed only exactly one or two, then you can definitely choose whatever particular behavior you're looking for, and then just choose the date range for those events that you wanted to include. So in addition to the date range, you can choose either by type, so either all worship events, all communion events, all Sunday school events, or you can choose by particular events instead. If you wanted to have just particularly VBS or contemporary worship, you can specify exactly how you want to search the behavior for. After that, you can kind of choose exactly how you want to sort it, either based on the person, or if you kind of wanted to group by household and kind of see, or if maybe it was just the last date attended or the event. Just however it is that you want to specify this report, you can choose. And then also choose exactly what information, extra information you wanted to include as well, like membership information possibly, or maybe their phone and email if you needed to contact them. And then from here, you can either create a static subgroup if you needed to maybe like send out letters for them or something. Or if you wanted to print, you can certainly click on print and see a print preview. It's not going to send anything to your printer before you're actually looking at it. And it just kind of gives you that extra information, just depending on what it is that you're looking for. Also, kind of skipping down to the attendance roster, this is also a pretty common report. For any type of roster, it's not restricted to just Sunday school, but that is a typical roster that you create. So it is defaulted to show everyone who is marked to be in Sunday school, and they are divided by grade, but you can specify, maybe just all members if you needed to, and then maybe just make either a generic report, or if you wanted to just make a blank roster instead without people's names and you can just write them in, you have that option as well. And then you can choose exactly what the start date is. You would increment either by a day or a week, depending on like VBS or if it was like Sunday school. Whatever it is that you need to increment by, you can choose exactly what notes and what teacher is marked to be for this report. And then if you wanted to choose more columns, if you wanted additional information or additional area for more information, then you can certainly add that for this specific report. And then in addition to, I skip over attendance by event in comparison, mostly because these are pretty self-explanatory, either by just choosing whatever the event summary is, and then comparison of other years. Also, a lot of these can be found in like the dashboard sort of area as well, that you can copy and paste in documentation if you need to. But then we also have the event summary area here. And this can just kind of give you just a plain numbers view on exactly, however many people are attending your events. And you can choose your date range and determine whether a type or an event, depending on how you want to specify. And then just feel free to just kind of tinker around and click on print and see how what reports give you the information you need. And if not, then there might be other views that are available for you as well. Then kind of rounding it out, I also wanted to also wanted to point out the tools and settings. There are some utilities that are available in the attendance module, one of which is considered, we brought it in because it was a frequent feedback that we had gotten called fixing attendance posting mistakes. So I had shown you that you can go into a details, and if someone hasn't attended, then you can report or you can remove their singular record. But if you find that you had maybe posted a batch to the wrong date, then you can click on this specific utility and click on Start. As with all utilities, you might want to create a backup just in case. Then you'd be able to select whatever posting mistake you had, whatever the incorrect batch was, select it and to continue. And then you can choose whether you want to change the date, if you needed to change the event or the type, just whatever it is that you needed to change on a whole scale. You won't be able to change who it is that you had chosen, but you can choose just the main macro sort of designations that are part of this batch. Anything that can't be corrected in this, you would probably need to go into details and just manually correct those attendance mistakes. And then, since we have plenty of time, we also have two additional utilities that are available. We do have the ability to combine attendance for two people. This was mainly a part of connecting to duplicate records. So if it's just an attendance record that a duplicate has, you could just combine that and then delete the duplicate. In membership module, there is a combine option for membership records that might be more straightforward, and it can include membership information as well. But we just kept that utility in case there was just something you needed to just move over as far as attendance records are concerned. Then we also have a cleanup utility that by no means is required. It's not going to free up so much space on your database. You're not going to notice that much space is being freed up. So if you want historical data, then please by all means keep it. But we do have this cleanup utility if there are some specific years, anything that's older than 10 years old. If you wanted to remove that and no longer had any use for that historical information, then you do have that option. Then in addition to those specific utilities, we do have some defaults that are available. If you wanted to define a visitor, you could kind of choose whatever their participation would be marked as. It's just completely up to you on if you wanted to add a person record and what they would be designated as. Also, you can choose that whenever you're creating offering batches, so people who have contributed to a specific event, you can choose to have them create attendance batches from those, because it's hard to, usually, at least not in this day and age, but it used to be that it was hard to contribute and give money if you weren't attending. So if you wanted to mark someone as having attended, if they had given for specific offering batches, you can mark that setting so that when you're in contributions and you create a batch in offerings, it would create a batch here that you could kind of maneuver and create, instead of working from scratch. Again, it's just completely up to your office's preference. And then this is where you could change your attendance type names. So instead of like other one or other two, where I had assigned VBS, this other one, I could actually change the name to VBS. So that then whenever I'm looking at the event type, I'm not wondering what's other one, whatever this customization, what customizable type is, I can just name it from this utility. And so then it's just a lot more straightforward. And I think I have droned on for long enough. So now, if it's okay with you, I'm going to go ahead and start with my quiz, and then we will just dedicate the rest of the time for questions. All right then. So I'm going to bother you guys with 5 more questions. And launching now. Okay, so we have default types for events. And those types are worship, communion, Sunday school, traditional, and contemporary. Is that true or is that false? Okay then. Okay, I fooled a few people. So the answer is false because those types of events are worship, communion, Sunday school, other one and other two. But technically, you could rename other one and other two to contemporary and traditional. So if you wanted to look at that technicality, then I'm actually wrong. But these are just kind of the default types, but you can rename them and then just kind of maneuver them however it is that you need for your reporting needs. So, all right. How about this one? Head counts can only be added to unposted attendance badges. Okay, then. So that is also false because events with only head counts, you could create an event summary from scratch instead of creating a batch. But you can also add in head counts to a batch that's in progress before posting or after posting as well. So head counts are whenever it is that you want to add them. Roster reports are only available for Sunday school events. Ooh, people were really fast on that one. Okay, we slowing down? Okay. That is false. You can make rosters for any group you want, whether it's for Sunday school, if it's using a subgroup, a list. You can choose everyone in the database if you so choose. It's just up to you. Question. If an attendance batch is posted to the wrong date, users can use the Fix Attendance Posting Mistakes to correct it. Okay, then. So that is true. It will reassign either the date or the event, and in some cases, depending on historical data, you can also change the event type as well. And that will reassign any of those records that are created from that posted batch. So then you don't have to do it all over again. All right. And last but not least, users can enter attendance batches online using web tools. Did I just lie to you all in front of God and everybody about web tools. I'm so glad you guys believe me. Okay, so that is definitely true. With a whole lot of people working at home, I thought it was important to make sure people knew that you can use web tools to enter that in from home, and then you can just import it just straight back to the church database when you get back in there. All right then. So if anybody still has questions, I do have a list here, so I'll definitely be addressing those. But if nobody else has questions, or if anybody who doesn't have questions, you guys can definitely feel free to leave. Thank you for your time here. And if you do ever run into any questions or concerns, you can definitely reach out to us here at support. It is definitely our ministry to help you with the administrative tasks so that you can continue on with, preaching the good word. So please let us know if there's anything that we can do to help you with that. So I'll go ahead and just end the recording here, and then we'll get into those questions.